Marvel is letting reviewers say anything they want other than dropping a full review when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy 3 already. People are giving their first impressions. That's pretty unusual. It demonstrates that Marvel may have a lot of confidence in this film, but trouble lies ahead. At the same time that Marvel thinks they have a real gem, a real solid finale to the trilogy by James Gunn, projections for the movie at the box office are down and dropping. Can Marvel stop the Marvel Malaise? And can they save the future films of the Phase 5 dive? Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. It's what we do each and every day here on the WDW Pro channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the biggest films in terms of trajectories for the Walt Disney Company and for the MCU. Much bigger than we may have anticipated before Quantumania came out and sputtered to horrible numbers, a major flop, and scared everybody over there at the world of Feige. Now, with Jonathan Majors in big trouble as well, not in the fantasy world, but rather in the real world with real allegations, Marvel is in a world of hurt. And they need Guardians of the Galaxy 3 to perform well. If it does not, then we could potentially be looking at up to 2 years of Marvel lower than projected outcomes at theaters over and over, all the way until not this Christmas, but next Christmas season with Deadpool 3. Helping me maneuver and wind through all of these different issues with Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy, we have investigative reporter from That Park Place, Jonas J. Campbell, and we have Michelle of Force of Light. Welcome to both of you.
Good to be here.
Bro. Always good for a maneuver.
Well, that's right. We're going to try and wind through this thing. The last time we were together, we talked about Star Wars in relation to sort of the religious and mythological interweavings of George Lucas that he put into Return of the Jedi. Today, we're going to be taking a look at something that is similarly important, I would say. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, a big film for Marvel, for James Gunn. Lots of different storylines here. James Gunn leaving and going to DC, that's a big story. Also, this is potentially the end for many of these characters, all of them highly important to Marvel and their marketing. And also, however this film does in theaters, well, it's going to have a major impact on films going forward. So all kinds of stuff here. I want to start with a Yahoo article, this one by Faye Watson. Before we get into it, folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and that notification bell. When you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. So have fun with that. Here's what it says. Early reactions to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 have started flying in, and they're pretty glowing. From what little we know about Guardians 3 so far, the Marvel Phase 5 dive film will see Rocket in danger as the team must rally to save him. All of the Guardians will be back too as they face new adversaries in the High Evolutionary and Adam Warlock. The early reactions are full of plenty of praise for the final film in the trilogy, as many call it a fitting goodbye to these beloved characters. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is a brilliant end to a brilliant trilogy, writes Digital Spy's Ian Sandwell. It's very funny, emotional, and everybody gets their standout moment. Will Poulter's Warlock is a terrific addition, yet the focus is rightly on telling a satisfying end for the Guardians. Gonna miss them. I want to stop right there for a moment because I want to go to both of you now. I'm looking at this and I'm seeing how we're discussing the end of these characters. That is significant because these characters are beloved and useful to the people who run the MCU. If they are taken off the board, out, they're gone from the roster, then we're stuck with characters like Brie Larson's Captain Marvel and these other characters that just aren't as beloved. So let's start with Michelle. Do you think this is a mistake if this truly is the end for these characters that people actually still connect with?
Yes, because I would do like they did with Iron Man, that though his trilogy finished, I think in like 2011 or no, maybe like 2013 or so is when Iron Man 3 came out. But he still continued to be a major part of the MCU. That's what I would have done with these characters. Like, you can finish their trilogy and then continue their story in the different Avengers movies that they'll do.
Jonas, what do you think? There are some characters here that if they are to die, and perhaps there's some other way that they can end their story, but for example, if either Groot or Rocket die in this movie, That's a major hit on merchandising for Marvel because kids don't want to play with dead characters. That was the whole deal with the Han Solo situation with George Lucas way back in the day. Rocket and Groot, they don't age because they're not real. They're CGI characters. They make great plushies. So if they die, it's a huge hit on Marvel, yet James Gunn seems to have full say on what happens. What do you think is going to be the fallout from all of this?
You know, actually, I think they should all go right off into the sunset. When James Gunn wrote these films, he created a good meshing of characters that play well off of each other. I don't know that any individual character, other than maybe Star-Lord, is really strong enough to go out and lead a film on his own, and that's because it's Chris Pratt. Gamora is a great character, but everything about her is related to things that are going away. The Thanos story that they laid on top of it, on top of her arc there, it was her arc from the start, but the Thanos aspect is wonderful, but it's gone now. When you look at Drax, him relating to the Guardians is the most interesting thing about that character. I think without James Gunn, it's from a creative standpoint, it's better for them to end the Guardians plot here with these three. Marvel is not good at a fourth movie. If you look at
You
Thor,
could have just stopped at not good. You could have just stopped there. It would have worked, actually.
well, they used to be great, though.
Yes, they did.
If you look at Captain America, they had two good movies, and then they co-opted his final one to be Avengers 1.5 because I'm sure they couldn't rename it to an Avengers film for contract reasons. Spider-Man still doesn't have a good movie. Iron Man has 3 good movies. I'm struggling to think of any complete arc contained within one person's 3 movies. And this might be the only one where they fully form an arc and just do it there. Iron Man does have 1, 2, and 3. Really great. There's some solid storytelling there. There is an arc there in Tony realizing that he is Iron Man and that Iron Man, he is still Tony Stark without Iron Man. But then he has a different story in Avengers. With the Guardians of the Galaxy, they're off on their own. There's nobody bumping into these characters out in the galaxy, or there shouldn't be. I guess
Perhaps that's why Thor was taken out.
Right. Nobody needs to run into them the same way that Black Widow or Sam Jackson or whoever. I say Nick Fury. It's Sam Jackson. Nobody's bumping into them out in the galaxy. This is a specific kind of film with a specific kind of feel with a very specific writer and director. They need to let it go here. And if they want to use the characters, they can use the characters. If they want to sell the merchandise, put them in a cartoon.
Well, that's an interesting take because that is sort of the argument for stopping the Indiana Jones movies at the trilogy point, right? It doesn't seem obvious, although we like Indiana Jones and we want more Indiana Jones. It's not obvious that continuing on past the high note is a good idea. So I hear the argument. We'll see how this plays out. As we get ready to do so, let's take a look at some of these very first reactions. Again, Marvel, according to Chris Gore, not forcing people who have already seen the movie to hold back their opinions, although there is an embargo on full-on reviews. Those would be official reviews that get aggregated into those various sites like Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes. Those are on hold until Thursday, we believe. All right, this one's out of Den of Geek by Kirsten Howard. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. First reactions are in. And we'll just read some of these. We don't need to go into the intro here. But we got this out of Ian Sandwell. We've heard from him already. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is a brilliant end to a brilliant trilogy. It's very funny, emotional, and everybody gets their standout moment. We've got all that. But continuing on, we've got Tyrell Charles. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is emotional and epic. The action, the soundtrack, the comedy, and tear-jerking moments. They've hit it out of the park with this beautiful end to James Gunn's trilogy. It's also solidified Rocket Raccoon as one of the best characters in the MCU. Rory Cashin says, can confirm that I shed a tear during Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and that I would very happily watch an Adam Warlock solo movie. Full review very soon. Yes, well, as soon as that embargo's over, eh? Emil Franchi says, after seeing it twice, I can safely say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 completes the perfect MCU trilogy. It's heartbreaking and hilarious, and I've loved this team from the first Uga Shaka. A blast for 10 years. I like that. I like that tweet. Well played. 593 likes and every one of them earned. Anytime you do an Uga Shaka, reference. Well done. We've got Alexander Cardello says Guardians is more than ever Star Wars as a stoner comedy. Lovable weirdos, big Marvel action, and goofy jokes, but nothing can prepare you for all the emotions. Rocket Raccoon's origin story is beautiful and heart-wrenching. And finally, we've got Lily LaForme. This movie, my heart is full and broken at the same time. It was a lot to process, a very complex story, but it left me feeling awesome. All of these are glowing assessments, and it doesn't seem to me that they're following the same exact terminologies and phraseologies, which is what we usually see when people are trying to make sure that they get access to the next big film, right? We know how some reviewers will get the early premiere, and then they want to continue getting those early premieres, and suddenly their reviews and their early impressions all sound the same. This is not the case, though, and with these. They have significant variations. So, Jonas, let me go back to you again. If this film is exceedingly good, as what we're hearing now, also from people that we have talked to, they say it's really good. Do you think that it can overcome the rest of Marvel, or do you think that I don't want to say franchise fatigue because I don't like that for superheroes. Do you think the Marvel malaise is so strong that Guardians will be rolled into it as well?
You have to use a different phrase that's also alliterated. That's great.
Well, so I'll tell you why. The reason I don't like using the franchise fatigue thing is because that was the excuse for Star Wars.
Right.
And I don't like giving the mouse that same excuse, because we know that Star Wars is not suffering from franchise fatigue. It's suffering from bad content. And so I don't want to then take that and extrapolate it out to The Little Mermaid and to Elemental and to all the Marvel stuff. Like, Disney isn't suddenly suffering franchise fatigue across all of its divisions just out of the blue. There's something behind all of that.
Well, that's the Disney business model. Before they bought Fox, they released 7 franchise films a year, or films that had franchise potential. That is the entire business model for Disney theatrical. As in Disney box office theatrical. Sorry, Disney theatrical is a different division that does shows, Broadway shows. The entire intention is franchise. So with Guardians of the Galaxy, here's what they have to go up against, and comparing it to, say, Picard. Picard season 3 had 10 episodes or 9 episodes. Doesn't matter. They had 2 months of people raving about it online. People who had already seen it before it even hit streaming, that had already seen what it was and saw that it was good, and were telling people over and over again for 2 months, you need to go see this thing. Marvel does not have that opportunity with Guardians of the Galaxy. They have got 3 weeks tops to make as much money as possible, and then I guess they will hope that people pick it up on Blu-ray or 4K or whatever, but that market is dried up by their own design because of streaming. They have got an uphill battle here. It's well known that Disney likes to push ideology. James Gunn has an ideology, but is good at not pushing it. There was like one line in the entirety of Peacemaker that had anything like that, and it was said by a villain. They have got everything stacked against them. And with this movie tracking at $130 million, with the traditional 2.5x multiplier that they usually have, we're talking, what is that? 130, and
I think we talked about that when Valiant was on with us, we discussed that this movie is actually tracking for somewhere around 700 million, but that just seems so low that we're granting that surely it can leg out to 750 to 800. I mean, surely.
And it does have a recognized star at the front of it, and the entire
Chris
premise
Pratt
is him being
and he's
funny.
just come off of Mario, so.
And I gotta say, Ant-Man, you cast Paul Rudd in the role of Ant-Man, and you say this is not going to be a funny movie, you've lost your appeal. Guardians of the Galaxy.
and you say here's an Ant-Man movie that's not at all about Ant-Man. How's that again, right? So let's go to Force of Light. Now, this just popped in my head. I had not thought of this until Jonas brought it up. But the Chris Pratt effect. He's just come out of Mario. Mario is the biggest film of the year, may end up being the biggest film of the year, period. Is looking like it could become the biggest animated film of all times, box office wide. So does Chris Pratt pull in an audience off of the Mario effect, which would be crazy for an animated film to do that? But is he that hot right now?
Well, Chris Pratt definitely has a following. Now, he definitely has those that don't like him, but he also has quite a large following for
He's like
'cause there
J.K.
really aren't.
Rowling, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. He definitely has his supporters. And then I get what Jonas is saying about how this will be an uphill battle. The days of easy $1 billion movies, the Captain Marvel movies making $1 billion are over in the MCU. That is not a thing anymore in today's economy and in just the MCU in general. That's not going to happen. But I will say this. I think this movie could outperform the other ones that we've seen this far with phase 4 or 5. I do think it can do that at least.
Well, given what Disney has done in terms of marketing with The Little Mermaid, and given that nobody knows anything about this Elemental movie and it's tracking terribly, this seems to me to be their best shot at a billion that they're going to have for a long time. What do you two make of that? This is the shot, right? This is it.
Unless there's some movie that I just don't know of right now that's going to come out of nowhere on me, and I don't think that's the thing. I think this is their best shot.
Well, they're filming Moana in this fall in Hawaii, which they announced it, and now they're going to be filming it. So they're pushing that out as fast as they possibly can. So if anybody wonders what it looks like when Disney panics, that would be panic mode, that they are already going straight into production.
And if they'll do that beat by beat to be like the cartoon, that could make $1 billion, but that's still a couple years away. So I think in the near future, I think Guardians probably is their best shot.
Now, I want to go to an article here where there's actually a little bit of a faux pas that has already occurred. You don't want your main actors to be giving away the plot, but here's what we've got out of Comic Book. This by Adam Barnhart. Talks about Zoe Saldana. Says she's one such actor that took to a recent interview to spread doubt on a potential return. And here's what she said. The one thing I would not want is for Gamora to go away. She's been such an impactful character for fans, and especially female fans and young female fans. Let's keep getting more and more specific here. I would love for Marvel to figure out a way to find that next generation of actors that can incarnate these characters and give them this immortality that fans generationally keep coming back to. Yes, I have a feeling that eventually they'll recast as well. But she says, but me per se, I mean, I signed up for 1 and I got 10 years. Lucky me, man. I have no complaints. And I'm moving on with so much grace and gratitude in my heart. Essentially, she says she's done. So, yeah, we're starting to see that, these characters truly are done. They're not coming back. And Jonas, does that kind of spoil the movie a little bit for people to already be reading these things?
I don't know. I mean, the Marvel Gamora's already died at least once.
Sorry, God.
So does it?
It's the multiverse, man. It's the multiverse. They'll keep. There's 100 more of her.
Well, technically, I'm pushing my glasses up to my nose as I say this. She's an alternate timeline, as opposed to a multi. Of course,
she's C-37 Gamora, right?
Right. Oh, my goodness.
Rick and Morty fans out there.
The character is kind of pointless without Chris Pratt, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying that she's not a great.
That's going to get you in trouble.
And I'm not. And
that's going to get you in trouble.
Chris Pratt is useless without the Guardians of the Galaxy. So here we go. The romance of those two characters is the crux of those films. You start the first film with the scene with the mom passing away of brain cancer. And her saying, take my hand. Peter refuses to take his mother's hand and she dies in front of him. He's racked with guilt and he tries to run as far away as he can. He goes to space. Eventually, many years later, it leads him to this moment where he has to take Gamora's hand. Those two characters linked together is one of the few MCU romances, and it's done really well. Second movie is this whole father-son thing, and she is the moral center. You have an assassin who is the moral center of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So what does that say? That says James Gunn is a fantastic writer. And now
those are all great points.
In the third movie is going to be about that relationship again. It's also going to be about Rocket and everybody else, and Nebula and the relationship with between Gamora and Nebula. All of these wonderful relationships. So maybe I am wrong. Maybe there is more there. If they keep Nebula and they keep Gamora, maybe they have a sister movie between the two of those, and it would be fantastic.
Sister. Sorry.
One's green, one's blue. Or maybe it's just that Zoe Saldana wants to show off her own skin in a film for once and be the color that she is.
Yes, instead of
Not
being blue and
or
green.
blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got a great complexion. She ought to do it.
You know, I was hoping that we would get like a Star-Lord and Gamora series on Disney Plus that sort of followed the same pattern as Moonlighting, right? Will they or won't they? We could have had that drag out for like 5 years. Really milk it. That's what I say. But you know, they didn't consult me on this. All right, let's take a look now at the actual projections, and we're going to see why this is a problem. This coming out of Box Office Pro. They also are pros. How about that?
No relation.
And no relation. That's true. And if we look over here at what we've got, this is long range box office forecast. They're talking about Fast X, but they're going to include this as well. This is from April 21st by Sean Robbins. And if we come down here, you're going to see that 5/5/2023, that is Guardians of the Galaxy. That is very soon coming up. And they have actually dropped the projections over time as a result of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 not meeting those pre-sale numbers that were anticipated. That being people who are going ahead and getting their reservations in for cinemas. And so now, as of this most recent reporting, and we'll be waiting to get the next one, Guardians of the Galaxy is down 6% in their overall opening projections, as well as the cumulative projections. So not good at all. Now, there are worse situations, right? So Big George Foreman, well, that's down 10%. Clearly, people don't want to know how to cook with George Foreman grill. But still 6% drop, that's no good. And, you know, it just points again to really this is, I did not anticipate this. I really thought that Guardians were sort of impervious to everything else that was going on with the MCU. I thought that it would have that same effect where people say, well, I've got to go see it. I've seen the first two. I want to see how these characters end. But a 6% drop, and these numbers already didn't, you know, strike me as being just, wow, you know, it's going to be a huge movie. No. I mean, it was already below what Mario's doing. Now it's a 6% drop. We don't know what the next one will be. So what do you two think? I mean, if this comes in as low as it's looking now, is the rest of the MCU toast? Because if the Guardians, if they can't meet the numbers that we once thought they would, then surely the Marvels is done for. And surely not Captain America is done for. And we don't even need to get into these, you know, these other things that are just, nobody's even heard of them all the way until Deadpool 3. What do you think?
Yeah, they're done. Like if Guardians can't even get like close to $1 billion or to $1 billion, yeah, there's no way the other ones. No one's that excited for the Marvels. No one's that excited for the Captain America Falcon or whatever he's called. Like no one cares at this point. And something else, as I brought it before, that's a very real issue for people, is we're in a horrible economy, basically like a depression.
We're not supposed to talk about that now.
Well, but with horrible inflation.
I'm just throwing this in here. Nestle has raised their prices 10% over the last 3 months.
Really?
And they're the largest food
Did you just make a reference to a chocolate company?
No,
that's what he was thinking.
Here's the thing. They don't make chocolate, they make food. They're the largest food manufacturer in the United States.
Oh, I see the connection.
By 10%.
Okay. Yeah. I got
10% inflation in the first quarter of this year.
I
don't want to take it into economics, but I will say, I continuously look at the economy and wonder, how long can we go before something's got to give. But anyway, I regress because we do need to say that movie tickets have actually outstripped inflation, even though we're in a historically high inflationary period right now. Movie tickets are still inflating even faster than the normal inflation. So food prices don't even compare to movie ticket prices. So
and that's
maybe
what I'm saying. When people are having to pay so much more for food, for just daily life, it's going to get to the point they need to really, really want to see this movie. They're going to be very picky in how they spend their money at the movies. And that's why I'm saying the 2016 when was that? 2019 Captain Marvel, those days are gone. They're gone not just because of the MCU story, but because of how well the economy was in 2019.
Okay, so here's another great. Well, I think it's great because I'm going to ask it, but you may all think this is just the dumbest question ever. But here's another thought. We're talking about the inflation for the movie ticket prices, right? Well, it stands to reason that because movie ticket prices are so inflated, that Marvel doesn't have to get nearly as many people in the theater in order to break $1 billion. Yet they're not even coming close. So it's far worse than it would just seem otherwise. You know, if you're just looking at the numbers, you might come across and say, well, they've got a 20%, 30% dip. But no, when you actually look at the audience size, it's a massive diminishment since 2019, like you're saying. Jonas, what's causing this? Why, you know, I know that people are perhaps looking at their budgets more tightly, but does it go beyond?
I think I know why you're asking me specifically, because the answer is always when you go straight to me. Why? It's always because, and it's right, because Disney has gone woke.
I love anybody. I love anybody who starts to give an answer and says, "By the way, this will be right."
I have more content to go through on my channel than I know what to do with. And people have lost faith in the Disney brand. People have lost faith in Marvel, and people have lost faith in Star Wars to deliver a good product. Star Wars, it's not as pronounced yet. Marvel Phase 4 made it very clear that the quality is low and the writers of that content despise at least half their audience, if not more.
Absolutely. Oh, so let's go to final thoughts. And I will say on the Star Wars front, I'm going to try to get Lorne Connor to hop back on the channel. We put him really through the ringer. He loves Star Wars. And we did the thing the other day where we talked about what Lucasfilm allegedly was doing with Luke Skywalker. Lorne did not have a good time, but, you know, that's because he loves Star Wars. But I'm trying to have him back on soon because I do have a new leaked internal message from a big box retailer in regards to Star Wars and what they, the message they've been putting out from their side about what they're seeing. And so I'd like to have Lorne back on for that.
Are we right in saying that Star Wars is just finally dead?
But yeah, you're right. Across the board at Disney, just all kinds of problems. It seems like every division is suffering. I guess that's why we see layoffs and dragons burning to the ground inside their parks. It's maybe that's a metaphor, right? Maybe the universe is speaking out. Let's go to final thoughts, and also, if you wouldn't mind, to tell us where people can find you on this great, big, beautiful web. Let's go to Force of Light first. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think what we said is true. Like, if this can't do it, the others are toast. Because I actually am. I'm not the biggest. I've watched the Marvel movies, but I've not been like a diehard MCU person. But the Guardians of the Galaxy was the first movie that I was like, I'm gonna definitely go see that in theaters. And I don't feel that way about any of the. I haven't seen a Marvel movie since the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness movie.
That was enough, huh?
Realized. Yeah, it was just enough. So it's like, this is the first one in over a year that I'm going to go pay to see.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I love the first two. I love the first two Guardians movies. I really like them.
They're fun. They're fun. And yeah,
I'm
like
Mary Poppins, y'all. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot to like in them. So I'm excited to see that. But you can find me and my sister at Force of Light Entertainment on YouTube, and tomorrow, or I guess today is when this video will be out. You can check out, if you like reactions. We just did our reaction and posted our reaction to The Sixth Sense. I'd never seen it, so definitely go check that out.
Fantastic. And by the way, I was on your live show the other day, and that was so much fun talking about Lilo and Stitch and Little Mermaid. We had lots of laughs. When are your live shows so people can find that as well?
Yes, our live shows, now we're off the first Monday of every month. But outside of that, our live shows are on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And
you've also opened up memberships, I believe.
I have, yes. Yeah, you can check out our 3 different tiers of membership status as well.
All right, fantastic. Now, Jonas, you do not yet have memberships, but you are uncovering all of the woke ideologues out there in Hollywood, one wokey at a time. What do you think? Is Guardians of the Galaxy 3 going to be fodder for a future video you do, or will James Gunn keep it clean from modern day movements?
I think James Gunn has been living in that world for long enough that I don't think he will make that film overtly woke in a way that just smacks the audience across the face. He's actually pretty good at playing in both worlds, and that's one of his best skills as a filmmaker. He's right up there with Jon Favreau as someone who can actually play nicely with others who don't necessarily agree with him across the ideological board.
Luckily, he doesn't have to deal with Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh, I can't even imagine. So I will actually be surprised if that film goes full woke. And it will be, this is Disney's last opportunity. This is their last pure filmmaker who doesn't, well, this
connect
is the
the dots the way Disney tells him to.
Right. He was a leader at Marvel before he was let out the door by Alan Horn, and then later brought back in after he made his apologies. I don't think Marvel has anyone like James Gunn after this, and they don't have anyone like James Gunn after this, literally. This is a film that has the best chance of any to do well, and the Guardians have to stand on their own, as I'm sure the Guardians will have to stand on their own in the narrative of the film. And if this doesn't go well, Disney's at a loss. And if it does really well, Disney's still at a loss because they can't go out and make another one without James Gunn. So
seldom have I waited so long for such a poignant point there, Jonas. If Disney doesn't do well with this, then, well, they won't do well. But I see what you're saying, and I love it. Where can people find you, Jonas?
You can find me on my channel, which has currently has the same name as me, Jonas J. Campbell, where I do a series called Everything Woke About, where we go through all the things that maybe not everybody's watching, and go through bit by bit. Who's saying she, her? Who's got which preschool character is dressed up like trying to get your little boys to dress too?
Well, let me ask you about that real quick, Jonas, because I've seen all over social media now, people have caught on to some little dinosaur show where there was something. Have you covered that one yet?
Are we talking about Dino Ranch and
I think so, yes.
The two gay dino dads that go around trying to steal other dinos' eggs? Yeah, let me tell you, Disney, I'm not trying to give you any ideas here, but if you're going to write a story about two gay dino dads, maybe don't make them the most fearsome dinosaurs known to exist. Maybe make them little cute ones instead of making them terrifying Tyrannosaurus Rexes.
Who steal other people's eggs. Folks, let me just tell you.
That was the kicker. Steals other people's eggs, yeah.
Never easy to turn your hero into the person that people want to be if they're stealing others' eggs. Don't do it.
Don't steal people's eggs, guys.
Don't steal people's eggs. Yes.
You can go watch that video on my channel if you want, but I've spoiled the ending for you.
There you go. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this video as we dived into Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and what we think's going to happen. Of course, there will be a review on this channel as soon as that movie lands. The same day as release, we'll have it right here. And please, if you enjoyed this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms when you click it. We're talking about that notification bell. It's not just the three of us here, though. It's all of you. So drop a comment down below. We want you to be a part of this dialogue. You're a part of this conversation. We read them. We do respond. Memberships are available, so consider joining and getting more exclusive content. And the Pro Show is live Thursdays in the afternoons, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing. And I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Make sure to catch The Pro Show Thursdays 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Entertainment Explained, The Culture Curve Conquered, live with Pro and all his friends.